Welcome back, everybody. Today's deep dive is going to be a little different, maybe not as exciting as some of our past episodes, but stick with me because it's super relevant to anyone out there who's part of the youth soccer world. We're diving into the world of soccer agent fees, how they work, why they're making headlines, and what it all means for players, especially those just starting their journey. And trust me, what we've uncovered is pretty surprising. We're talking record-high fees, a landmark moment in the women's game, and even some legal battles that could reshape the whole system. So to help us break it all down, I've got with us. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here. It's definitely a hot topic right now, and there's a lot to unpack.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. How exactly do these agents get paid? It always seemed kind of mysterious to me.
Well, it used to be pretty simple. Agents basically earned a commission, a percentage,
Mhm.
of their client's salary or any transfer fees involved in a move to a new club.
Right, so just like a real estate agent getting a cut when they sell a house.
Pretty much. But FIFA, soccer's governing body, decided to step in and change things up a bit.
And why was that? What were they hoping to achieve?
They wanted to create more transparency in the system. FIFA argued the old way wasn't always fair, so they introduced new regulations, including caps on the commissions agents can earn.
So like a limit on how much they can take from a player's earnings.
Exactly. For example, if a player has a salary over $200,000, the agent representing them is limited to a 3% commission.
3%? Wow, that does seem pretty low. I always assumed those agents were making a fortune.
Well, there's a bit more to it. That 3% cap is just for representing the player. There's also something called dual representation, where the agent acts for both the player and the club buying that player. In those cases, the cap goes up to 6%.
Ah, I see. So it can get a bit more complex than just a simple percentage.
Definitely. And all this hasn't gone down too well with everyone, especially some of the big, powerful agencies.
I can imagine they're probably not happy about someone limiting their earning potential.
You got it. Several agencies have actually taken legal action against FIFA, arguing these caps are unlawful.
Whoa, so they're actually fighting FIFA in court over this.
Yep, and it's getting serious. Just recently, a court in England actually ruled in favor of the agencies. They declared those FIFA caps unlawful.
So what does that mean for FIFA's plan? Does this ruling throw everything into chaos?
It's definitely a setback, and it could have ripple effects globally, Other agencies might be encouraged to challenge FIFA in their own countries.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if these caps can really be enforced if courts are siding with the agencies.
It definitely throws the future of agent regulation into question.
Okay, so we've got these legal battles brewing.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, FIFA is reporting that agent fees just hit a record high, something like $888.1 million in 2023 alone.
It's a crazy number, right? That's over 42% higher than the previous year.
It's almost like these attempts to control the fees are having the opposite effect.
It really makes you think.
So what's driving this massive increase in fees? Is it just the overall growth of the sport?
That's definitely part of it. The financial power of soccer is undeniable these days. But it also raises some concerns, Are players really getting their fair share? Especially young players navigating their first contracts.
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in these big money headlines. But we need to remember there are real people and their careers at stake here.
Absolutely. And it's not just the men's game either. This FIFA report highlighted something pretty remarkable in women's soccer.
Oh, right. What was that?
For the first time ever, clubs in women's professional leagues spent over $1 million on agent fees.
Wow, $1 million. That's got to be a good sign for the women's game.
It is. It shows the women's game is attracting more investment, and that benefits everyone.
Definitely a sign of progress. But I have to admit, this is already getting way more complicated than I expected.
Yeah, there's a lot to consider.
We've got these big agencies potentially undermining FIFA's attempts to control fees. Meanwhile, the money's flowing through the system like never before. So where does that leave the players themselves? And what about the parents and families who are supporting their careers?
It puts even more emphasis on the role of the agent. It's crucial to find someone who truly has the player's best interests at heart.
Okay, so let's dig into that. What should players and families be looking for in an agent?
Yeah.
And how can they navigate this whole fee situation?
It's easy to focus on the big money and these legal battles, but at the end of the day, it's about the players, right? Especially these young players just starting out, their careers, their futures.
Absolutely. So let's say I'm a parent. My kid is showing some real talent on the field, What should I even be looking for in an agent? Like, what questions should I be asking?
Okay, well, first off, you want to make absolutely sure that any agent you consider is FIFA licensed.
FIFA licensed.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that actually mean?
It means they've met certain standards and are subject to some level of oversight by FIFA. But honestly, it's just the bare minimum.
So what else should we be looking for?
You need an agent who's more than just a contract negotiator.
Okay, so not just about the money.
Right. They should be a mentor, an advocate, someone who genuinely has your child's best interests at heart.
So it's really about finding someone who understands the player as a person, not just as a commodity, right?
Exactly. A good agent looks at the whole picture. They help with career planning, connect players with training resources, even provide guidance on things like media and public image.
Wow, so it's really a much bigger role than I initially thought.
It is. Especially with young players, it's crucial to think long-term, not just jump at the first big offer that comes along.
Makes sense. It's like you wouldn't want a coach who only cared about winning the next game,
Right.
but ignored the player's development in the long run.
Exactly. And just like you'd interview potential coaches, you need to do your homework on potential agents too. Don't be afraid to ask for references, talk to other players they represent.
Get a feel for their track record and their approach.
Exactly.
Now, what about this whole dual representation thing we talked about earlier, where the agent works for both the player and the buying club? Should parents be wary of that?
It's definitely something to think about carefully.
Yeah, because it just seems like there could be a conflict of interest there.
You're right, there could be. It can be beneficial in some situations, for sure, like streamlining communication between the player and the club. But it's important to ask, is the agent truly putting the player's needs first? If they're also working for the club on the other side of the deal.
Right. It's like, who are they really advocating for?
So yeah, transparency is crucial. Everyone needs to be clear about who's representing whom.
Okay, that makes sense. And speaking of transparency, how should families approach those conversations about agent fees?
Well, the typical structure is that commission we discussed,
Yeah.
but the percentage can vary, even with FIFA's caps in place.
And those caps are being challenged, as we know.
Right, so it's still important to be very clear about those details.
So what's the best way to handle that?
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Okay, good advice.
Get everything in writing. Make sure you understand every single term of the agreement.
Okay, so no handshake deals.
Not when it comes to something this important.
What if you're still feeling unsure?
Don't hesitate to get independent legal advice.
Okay, so it might be worth involving a lawyer.
It could be, especially if the deal is complex or you have any doubts.
It really sounds like finding the right agent is almost as important as finding the right club.
I'd say it's equally important.
Wow.
It's a partnership, a long-term relationship, built on trust, mutual respect.
Sounds like finding a good agent is like finding a good partner in life.
Haha, in a way it is. You need someone you can rely on who's got your back.
Okay, so we've talked about what to look for in an agent, how the fees work, all the potential things that could go wrong.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
Now I'm curious, what surprised you the most about this FIFA report on agent fees?
You know what really stood out to me was that contrast we see between those record-breaking fees and all the legal challenges happening at the same time.
Oh, interesting.
Like on one hand, you've got all this money flowing through the system.
More than ever before.
Right. And on the other hand, you've got these fundamental questions about how the system should be regulated.
Whether it's even fair or transparent.
Exactly. It really highlights that tension, between the business side of the sport and the need to protect players and ensure everyone's playing by the rules.
Yeah, it's almost like two different worlds colliding.
It is. You've got the glamour, the multi-million-dollar deals, but then you've also got the nitty-gritty legal battles and the fight for fairness.
And caught in the middle are the players themselves.
Right, and it makes you wonder, where does all this lead? Will we see more transparency in the system? Will players have a stronger voice in how they're represented?
It's hard to say for sure, but these are the big questions we need to be asking. Okay, before we get too lost in speculation, let's take a step back and recap what we've covered so far. We started by looking at how soccer agents get paid. That traditional commission structure based on player salaries and transfer fees.
Right, and then we talked about FIFA's attempt to regulate the industry by introducing those caps on agent fees. But of course, as we saw, those regulations are facing legal challenges.
Yeah, which throws a big wrench into things. And then we talked about the implications of those record-high agent fees.
The questions about financial disparities in the sport and whether players are truly getting their fair share.
We also touched on that milestone in women's soccer. Over $1 million spent on agents in the women's professional game.
A sign of progress, for sure.
Definitely. And then we shifted gears a bit to give some practical advice for players and their families.
About what to look for in an agent, the importance of transparency, and protecting the player's interests, both financially and in terms of their career development.
That's a lot to think about. But hopefully our conversation has provided some valuable insights.
I hope so. Whether you're a player, a parent, or just a passionate fan of the game.
So it sounds like we're at a pretty crucial moment for the sport. All this money coming in, these record high fees, but at the same time, all these questions about transparency and fairness.
Yeah, it's a real crossroads.
And it makes me wonder, what's the future hold for agent fees and how players are represented?
It's tough to say for sure. I mean, will these legal battles lead to some kind of overhaul of the whole system?
Right. Will we see maybe a shift away from those commission-based fees?
Towards something more fixed or transparent.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about the possibilities.
It is.
So what do you think would be the ideal scenario, for both the players and for the sport as a whole?
Well, I think ideally, you want a system that allows agents to be compensated fairly. I mean, they do play a vital role in guiding players' careers, but it also has to protect players, ensure transparency, and prevent exploitation.
Right, especially for those young players just starting out.
Exact.
It's all about finding that balance, right?
It is.
You don't want to stifle those agents who are really good at what they do.
Right.
But you also don't want it to be a free-for-all, where players can be taken advantage of.
Exactly.
So what's the solution? How do we find that sweet spot?
Well, I think it might involve a combination of things. Clearer regulations, standardized contracts, and maybe even some innovative fee structures.
Like what? What kind of innovative structures?
Well, instead of just a percentage of the player's salary, maybe there could be performance-based bonuses or fees tied to specific milestones in the player's career.
Oh, interesting. So the agent's pay would be more directly linked to the player's success.
Exactly.
That could really incentivize agents to focus on the long term.
It could.
Wow, I like that idea. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. From the basics of how these agents get paid, to the legal battles, the record high fees, the impact on players at all levels, especially in the women's game. What's your biggest takeaway from all this?
For me, it's that this conversation about agent fees, it's just getting started.
Yeah, it feels like the beginning, not the end.
This FIFA report has really shone a light on the issues. And now we need to keep asking those tough questions.
Keep pushing for a system that works for everyone.
Exactly.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. This deep dive into soccer agent fees has been, well, eye-opening, to say the least.
It has.
I hope it's encouraged all of you listening to stay informed, ask those tough questions, and advocate for a fairer, more transparent system. A system that supports both players and the sport we all love.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. And thanks to all of you for listening. Until next time.